It's me, Nim Sunny. Welcome back to another VR video. This one's not really about VR, but it's actually something unusual for me. Normally I don't do videos on sort of current affairs and stuff that's going on in the world, unless it's sort of VR related or game development related or game related in general. But this one's close to my heart. Why? Because Sonic the Hedgehog, along with Mario, are two of pretty much the main, and for a while, the only reasons that I actually do game development in the first place. Because of him, and because of Super Mario, I am actually in game dev. And it's the only reason that I'm pretty much making this video right now, or made any videos ever. So this stuff kind of matters to me. And of course, this ended up happening, as we all know. So you'll have noticed that there's a lot of reviews and videos and everything, and all the big reviewers and all of those guys have been making videos about this and talking about how they sort of... Jeff Fowler made a tweet about them sort of fixing this this model over here, this design, and making design changes. Now they haven't said anything about actually fixing or anything like that. They've specifically said there will be changes, and that's about it. That's all we've got. And everyone's sort of smiling about it. But one of the things that you'll hear a lot is, about that, and then you sort of hear the same thing every time, where they sort of say, I don't know how they're going to go about it. And that's mostly because a lot of the guys that are talking about it, they don't really know the 3D process and the graphical process behind this stuff. They just sort of know somewhat how Hollywood movies are made, in general. And I wanted to go through that process with you right now myself. Now, the first thing I want to mention is the design itself. I actually believe, and this is one of those sort of pre-posters, this is sort of a leaked image that we had here before the trailer came out. I actually look at that and think, that actually looks better than the actual result. And when this came out, everyone was complaining. And they kind of said, well, we're listening to feedback. And they actually made it, what I believe, worse. So, well done everyone on that side of things. Yeah, we complained, they made it worse. So, God knows what the heck they're going to do with the rest of it. But you can see here, I put a little cardboard piece here. I really wish that I activated my physics system, because I want to push this guy down and lift this guy up here. But we're going to look at the sort of designs that people have done already. These are the cool ones here. And the question is, how we're going to go from that to this. And I mean this specifically because, like all of the other designs, people have been trying to take the actual design they've gone with and sort of, with respect to the actual design, make some small changes. I don't think you should do that. I think you need to scrap that and just completely make, this model here. If I could, once again, I wish I had my physics system active, so I could pick this guy and just plonk right into the movie. Although I would be placing him in front of rockets, but that doesn't count. Anyways, so this is the design we need to go for. We need to go for an actual Sonic with realistic rendering. It's not, I would say it's not difficult, but having done those kinds of processes myself, it's difficult. But then it's as difficult as it is to make this thing in the first place. And I've got some sort of pointers as to why that thing was made in the first place. Let's have a look at what the process is. Firstly, we go to the actual motion capture part. So this is where we take a suit like so, and I've got my good friend here, Jim Curry, helping me out with the mocap here, so thanks to him. Yeah, this video is a bit random. We take a suit like that, or designed looking like this, and all those little points are being used to actually track the motion of the person. And what we do is we record that motion, and then that motion is stored in a computer system, or stored as data. It's stored as a tracking system, and then we can apply that to a character model. So here we've got Jim Carrey doing the mocap, and his mocap gets applied to the character model. Now that character model is usually not an exact replication of the real person. The actual actor will put some effort to make himself look, or make herself look like the character in terms of his motion, but it's never perfect. So what we do after that point, after we've applied it to the character, is we send in the specialists, the sort of keyframe animators, who make those small modifications and such like that, where for example here, you tilt the character forward a little bit, you tilt his head up a little bit, you increase the length of those strides back and forth. Obviously in reality you'd have someone actually running forward rather than just bouncing on the spot. And then you get a much more fluid, a much better looking animation that fits the character even more. Like I said, the guy will be acting the character quite well in the first place. So they probably have some people, in the motion capture industry that can do quite a good impression of certain characters. So there might be someone who can do quite a good Sonic animation and a guy who can do quite good Mario animations. Now they actually aid this system a little bit more by doing certain things. One of these here, for example, is where you often tend to see the actual actor's performance in the final result. So you can see here, for example, where you've got the person who is acting as Naturi in Avatar, and her face is almost exactly replicated by the character. And the same thing goes here when they were making the main character. And you can see the dots once again. So this is the same stuff that is actually going on with VR technologies. And VR technologies are a good simulation of what a real mocap studio is like as well, where you have external trackers, sensors, and then you have just points that are tracked in space, which have little LEDs or dots surrounding them. Now the other way that they aid the actual system, the animation system, is to have certain props that make the sort of the way that the motion is working change a little bit more. So for example here, when Thor is trying to grab the Hulk in the original Avengers, so this is the first Avengers movie from the new series of Avengers movies, so this is Avengers Assemble essentially. When Thor grabs the Hulk, they don't grab the original actor. Instead they have him in a suit with a sort of bulky thing on top, so that Thor gets that extra length around his arms, sort of extra thickness here to wrap around. And as a result you get better animations from the mocap, and then you get a better result in the end. That's where it ends. All of that has already been done. So if we imagine right now that the movie is already complete, ready for production, ready for publishing, If that's the case, this work has all been done already, except for the character model section. All of the tracking, all of the animations, the motion capture has been done and recorded. This is the performance. The actual actors or whoever's playing the motion capture, that performance has been recorded and stored, and it's kept. It's already kept. At that point, we take the new model, which they already should be working on, and we have to make specific modifications for that model. And this is the point where we go from here to here. This is where the new work starts. So all the questions being asked, where you say, how are we going to go about this? This is where the work starts. That stuff has already been done. All the performance has been done. Now the animators need to get to work. So one of the other things that you'll have noticed as well is that we're going to have to change the way the model looks. So we're going to have to redo the model. I say we, they are going to have to redo the model, redo the materials and everything. And this is sort of part of the process here. This is an example where we're using V-Ray, which is a nice plugin for 3D programs. Very, very professional stuff, this. Where we use V-Ray, and this has got a fur material here. And you can see loads and loads of settings and all of that. And all of this can be controlled by images as well, which are applied across the character. And that handles how the hairs are moving, which direction they point in, and all of that business. So there's a lot of processes going behind the scenes to make a character model look the way it looks. And I'll explain that a little further here. So after that point, what we need to do is you take the character model and you apply that to a real world scene. Now to do that, you have to get the lighting right. And you have to position match it all as well. So they have all of this kind of rig here going on, but to handle the camera motion. So you actually record the thing going on. You record the scene as you would in real world, live action. And the motion of that camera is tracked. And that's kept. As a result, you get sort of exact scenes in 3D that have the camera moving the same way that it did in the original live action video. Then what you do is the 3D modelers tend to make a sort of simulated space that looks similar and has very similar lighting to the original image. So here you can see in the past I had a small monitor. This is actually my desk, and you can see here a 3D recreation that I did for my desk. So this is actually all 3D. Everything that you see in this image is 3D. This is the actual desk, and you can see here the mouse movement from the past has all caused a little bit of damage on my table. But don't worry, I've got a new mouse mat there anyway. A nice stainless steel one. And so you can see here a pretty close replication of what's going on in the real world scene in 3D. And then what I do is I place a 3D model here, and all of that lighting, including the actual shapes of the objects surrounding it, create lighting on the object and shadows on the objects that don't exist in the real world. As a result, we get these sort of multiple images. So here you can see this is the actual transparency layer. So the white areas are what will apply to the original image of this image here. And you can see here I applied the transparency already here. When you add them together, you get this. So here I've put the Iron Man mask. So this is something I was working on before, and I'll show you that in a minute. You put the Iron Man mask on my table, and it's not actually there. This is the original image. These are the same image here, left and on the right, except one has the Iron Man helmet on it, the face mask. You can see the reflection of the Mario image there on the left side. You can see the reflection of the window in the background, which doesn't exist in the image, but in 3D I actually modeled it in. And you can see that reflecting. You can see the shadows of this object here as well, and you can see them coming in from the actual 3D model. That's the process of actually layering it on to a real world object. And you can see here the materials that I used for that as well. So this is one of my test scenes. This is just a table. Ignore the ugly looking sofas in the background. We have replaced those. This is a real image. And then of course this is the thing that I applied on top. So this is a model that I got off the net, but the materials I did myself. So this was my test scene for materials. The same textures and images that were applied here, I applied here on these spheres that are spinning in the game engine as well. So you can see here the textures and details are quite similar. The actual colors look a little bit different because I've got different post-processing. Now I did the same thing with a model of me. In fact, there's no model of me. The way that I stood, and I was tracking my face at the time, so this was a video originally, all I did for shadows here underneath my chin is I actually just have a cylinder there, a transparent cylinder that captures the shadows, and it sort of applies the bounced light as well. So this is sort of rebounding underneath the Iron Man helmet. And again, that's in the same scene here. This is actually the camera going from here, facing outwards. That's what I end up with here. This is my bedroom. One of my favorite ones that I've done of the same thing is here, where you've got the original image of me on the table there. And then I actually modeled, well, I didn't model this. This is from Poser, the Hulk. And I'm there arm wrestling the Hulk. And this is one of my favorite ones as well. So yeah, that is me, by the way. After that point, you have all of this done. Now this takes a very long time, because what you end up with is you set up all the materials like I mentioned here, in this section here, loads and loads of these going on, and then you do all the work to layer and layer on top of your original video, your live action video, with your 3D models now applied on top. As a result, you get this, and then you start doing the post-production, and you get the actual lighting that looks about right, so you can sort of retone this, for example, brightness, contrast, all of your color controls and saturation and everything. And then after all of that, your computer takes about a week or 2 weeks to render. I believe Avatar took 40,000 processors, 108 terabytes of RAM, was it terabytes, I believe, and that took a month. straight, 24 hours a day. It was doing 100 gigabytes per second or something of process, or is it 8 gigabytes per second of processing? Insane amount of processing. Anyways, that's the 3D work and the computer does the rest. And then you get to video editing. All of this needs to be done after that model is changed. All of this. And all of this is on the computer side of things. The recording has already been done, I assume. Your video editing, most people will already have seen this. This is Vegas. This is me editing my last video here, Advanced IK Logic. And you can see, again, layer after layer of things. One's the text layers, and then you've got the background, you've got the music and audio. And again, there'll be people who are adding in small effects and everything. Between this and that, you also have the post-processing, which looks similar to this as well. That's the process that we go through, and then we finally hit the render button on the video editor, and it gives you the final result, which is the final movie, you know, all put together, cut together in that program there. That's the process that they're gonna go through. So this is just for the sake of understanding what is now involved. Even if you had a finished movie at this point, and they've already got all the recording, that stuff doesn't need to be redone. Once you've got a new model, they need to replace the model, reanimate things in keyframe section. The performance is already recorded, and the character will move mostly correct. But they still need to, what we call, retarget it for this new character. There'll be quite a little bit of work involved there. It won't be as much as the original, because like I said, a lot of the work has already been done. Again, this as well, a lot of the materials and sort of fur textures have been done already. They'll have to reset that up for the new model, whatever model they go with. Then they have to layer that in to the new scene. Again, most of this is done. All the tracking work and all the sort of composite work has been set up for them, and they just have to hit render. So this stuff, again, it's sort of less as much a problem now, because they've already got the scenes, they've already got everything set up, and they just need to replace the Sonic model, let the thing run. Again, that'll take however long the computers took in the first place. But they might not have already done that in the first place already, because they got the trailer out and waited for people to respond. And then again, a little bit of the video editing. It won't be that much, because you're just sort of replacing one of these sort of videos with the new footage. So it's not as much work as it looks, but it is still a lot of work, and the major work going on is here. You have to apply your new materials, and you're going to have to make changes for that, because you're going to have to redo a lot of things. You're going to have different details on different places, and you're going to have to retarget those animations. So this is the real bulk of the work, not the performance and not the rendering side, because that again is just left for the computers to do. Is this going to be possible for every scene in the movie in what, a few months? I believe it is. I think you can take a model of Sonic, replace him, retarget his animations, and apply new materials, and let the computer do the rest of the work, and do that in a few months' time. If you've got a complete movie. I believe it's very easy, well, relatively easy, and it's possible. So any worries there? If I've cleared up a few things, if I've more confused you, I don't mind, that's okay. Hopefully you guys had fun. Hopefully this video isn't 20 minutes long. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.